Picture an Indian Sunday morning in the late 1980s. The streets emptied out, traffic came to a standstill, and millions gathered around their living rooms to watch an epic unfold on screen. That television broadcast hardwired a very specific version of the story into our collective memory. We picture Sita weeping helplessly behind a glowing, magical line in the dirt. We see Ram, an all-knowing, flawless deity from birth, effortlessly snapping a divine bow at a glamorous Swayamvar. But if you read the original, oldest text, Valmiki's Adikavya, those iconic moments simply do not exist. There is no Lakshman Rekha. There is no grand Swayamvar competition. To fit the format of a weekly family drama, television networks flattened complex historical figures into simple archetypes. They stripped away the grit and the struggle to sell a clean, predictable narrative. If we wipe away the glow of the broadcast and return to the ancient palm leaves, we find something far more compelling. We meet unapologetically human heroes. On screen, Ram is portrayed as an omniscient god from day one. In Valmiki's text, his starting point is entirely different. He is a sheltered, protected 16-year-old living comfortably in the wealthy, walled city of Ayodhya. His transformation begins when sage Vishwamitra arrives, pulling this teenager out of his comfort zone. Vishwamitra forces him into the Dandakaranya forest, a brutal region overrun by violent territorial warlords. Out in the wild, Ram earned his strength. He spent years mastering combat, building resilience, and learning to wield advanced technologies known as divyastras. Even his introduction to Sita lacks the TV romance. Ram didn't win her by casually breaking a bow at a festival. He broke that bow as a sheer exhibition of power to end an active, year-long military siege on the city of Mithila by failed, aggressive suitors. By deleting his initial vulnerability and grueling training, the television adaptation erased his personal struggle. They replaced a self-made hero who bled and sweat for his skills with a static deity. The broadcast era gave us the Ablanari, the passive, weeping damsel waiting endlessly for rescue. Valmiki's Sita is the polar opposite. She is a fiercely independent, headstrong strategist. When Ram is exiled, he strictly warns her to stay behind, citing the wild's lethal dangers. Sita actively argues back, demanding to accompany him, and making the calculated choice to face the forest on her own terms. And that glowing Lakshman Rekha? It is entirely absent from the original text. Sita wasn't tricked into stepping over a magical boundary. When she feared for her husband's life, she gave a direct, forceful order to Lakshman to leave her side and go find him. When Ravana eventually abducts her, she doesn't dissolve in helpless panic.
Trapped thousands of feet up by a notorious predator, she maintains absolute tactical clarity. Looking down at the jungle, she discards her heavy gold jewelry piece by piece, creating a deliberate breadcrumb trail for the Vanar army. This ancient Sita acted as a decisive architect of her own fate, a legacy of agency that was later erased to fit more conservative, televised ideals. To create a symmetrical rivalry, later retellings gave Ravana a noble justification. They claimed he kidnapped Sita purely to avenge the mutilation of his sister, Surpanaka. The text paints a much darker reality. Born with 10 heads, Ravana was a ruthless warlord who actually murdered Surpanaka's husband to eliminate a political rival. He had already been cursed by Brahma and Nalkapara for his assaults on the Apsara Punjikastala and his own brother's daughter-in-law, Ramba. His abduction of Sita followed a pattern of unchecked ego and lust that defined him long before his sister's encounter in the forest. This was an ancient world governed by brutal politics and raw power, far removed from the sanitized melodrama of a television set. The combat and character flaws were real, bloody, and unforgiving. By romanticizing Ravana's motives, modern scripts softened a tyrant. Minimizing the villain diminishes the monumental scale of Ram and Sita's victory over deeply entrenched evil. If Valmiki's original text was already this layered and complex, why did the networks change it? It comes down to a multi-century telephone game. Thousands of years of regional translations slowly layered new local beliefs onto the story. Then, broadcast networks needed to fit those variations into a format that demanded simple, black-and-white morality and easily digestible miracles. Television runs on spectacle.
It is much easier to show a divine miracle than to depict the exhausting, unglamorous reality of human effort. Take the famous bridge to Lanka. The original text describes absolutely no magical floating rock stamped with Ram's name. Instead, it details a massive, grueling feat of civil engineering and architecture, spearheaded by a Vanar builder named Null. They uprooted timber, hauled heavy boulders, and constructed an immense physical causeway across the ocean. They conquered the hostile environment by carving a path through it with their bare hands. Returning to the original source reveals a story of engineering, strategy, and the grueling human process of earning greatness.